I'm gonna play some music before I get started here. We've got 7 minutes to go. Enjoy.
Hotjar takes product teams from wondering WTF to knowing what to do next. From
I got flames on my lips, and I can't control that. I got acid on my tongue, and I can't control that. When I speak, I don't think. The words, they just roll out. I got flames on my lips and acid on my tongue, and I'm burning a hole to your heart. Straight to your heart. You know, these words come out hot, and I know that they singe you, and I can't seem to make them stop. That's what's keeping me with you. I keep picturing blizzards, 'cause I need them to cool down if I want you to heal. If I want to extinguish, place you out in the tundra or the greenest of fields. But don't you mind all that for now. I got flames on my lips and acid on my tongue, and I'm burning a hole to your heart. Straight to your heart. Would you just listen to me now? 'Cause you know I don't mean that. That's me just stuck on believing that I can keep you from leaving. Keep you from leaving. Flame on, almost done, almost in. Flame on, almost burned every bridge, almost with you now. Almost done with your will. Flame on, almost burned through your skin. Almost burned through your skin. I got flames on my lips and acid on my tongue, and I'm burning a hole to your heart.
Let's do another. Either way, Bach, I threw some albums up, stuff that I've worked on or friends that have done records on the Delta Gold page. because they don't really do their own publishing. I've got Matt's album, I've got my album, I've got my cousin's album, I've got Sinner's album, which is a band I used to play with a lot. I've got Ashes of Babylon. Let's go with that. That's a good contrast. Masters of the Universe. This is a band that I did a demo for when they first started, but I didn't produce this record, but this is a great tune.
Most people have no clue that in 2023
This is
the
not a
best
great
way to
tune.
make
This
money
is an
on
ad.
Amazon is not.
It's like crack, got all these people crowding around me like some motherfucking addicts. Yeah, I'm the pusher, pushing everything I am to something bigger than I am right now. I talk compunction. I let my courage take me to the stage every day. Praise the very day that I might take it to the stage. That's something, cause that's for real. And that's my real shit. See, homie knows it really feels, it gives you chills, don't it? I only wanna make a few G's so I can see my dreams manifested in the field, blowing in the breeze. So please buy the CDs and post the show dates. Got mouths to feed, plus we're so great. It's easy to support Moses, aka Bo Jeezy, and Dub C's Man Drew from the VA straight to the LA. We ain't talking about the West Coast, from Louisiana, bitch. Keep that shit straight. I'ma get stoned and sing all my songs all night long. Sit alone, dream about my money till the night turns sunny. There ain't nothing funny about my dream and keep on running, gunning. Yes. Amazed by the things I've seen. Times slowly, me and my brothers had to lean on each other. Too old for mothers, built too young to stop what we're loving, yeah. Wanna see some paper stacks, show you where the chronic's at. Very soon you're coming back, cause rap is secondary. First making it work, food, shelter, clothes, tacos, trailers, shirts. Show I don't come from dirt, we dignified and poor. We some good people, but crazy to the core. I'm out my kitchen floor with haters just to make it shine. Might end up buried in my shed if you impede on mine. I'm not a power hungry, money grubbing, greedy man. I'm fine just making this sometimes a perfect Charlie and Ned. Wanna get stoned and sing all my songs all night long. Sit alone, dream about my money till the night turns sunny. There ain't nothing funny about my dream and keep on running, gunning. Yes, amazed by the things I've seen. Time slowly, me and my brothers had to lean on each other. Too old for mothers, milk too young to stop what we're loving. Yeah. The style to get them wild to keep them falling in. Who got the shit to get them wet with sweat and loving it? With the first verse, we conquered the earth. By the last word, I swear we'll be the masters of the universe. We could be the best, we sure ain't the worst. Ayo, be out the chain with the way we're making it work. With the way we're making now, y'all people straight up go berserk. With the greatest of rhymes and the dopest of verbs. Hey, I'ma get stoned and sing all my songs all night long. Sit alone, dream about my money till the night turns sunny. There ain't nothing funny about my dream and keep on running, gunning. Yes, amazed by the things I've seen. Time slowly, me and my brothers had to lean on each other. Too old for mothers, milk too young to stop what we're loving. Yes, indeed. Amazed by the things I've seen. Time slowly, me and my brothers had to lean on each other. Too old for mothers, milk too young to stop.
Oh man, I could do just music streams totally, just jamming music for the hell of it. Yeah, that's Ashes of Babylon. Um, I have that album featured on the Delta Gold page, which is a publishing entity here in Louisiana, and I publish stuff that artists that I know don't have distribution. So there's quite a variety of stuff here. Some of it you've heard or I've played. One of the songs was played on a stream with Doug. This from this album, the Woodlawn Family Band album called Woodshed. But there's plenty of stuff to check out there. So if you haven't checked it out, then there's a link to the Facebook on the YouTube. You can follow, subscribe, whatever. Um, Same with Octane Sound, is a little studio network that if you're interested in audio or anything like that, um, it's a resource. And then we got the LaFleur Brothers official page. We got another subscriber, 60 now. This has got our album, me and Travis's album from 2022. And it's got 2 songs from the streams I did with Doug. The official Don't Give Up video, and some other performances that are labeled compositions. Just wanted to publish them, just have them out there. The other thing is the affiliations tab. If you want to discover some of the music that I've been involved with for 25 years or so, there's Stephen Martini. He's from LA. I just added Laura FM because I really like her stuff. But pretty big variety there. Same thing with the affiliates on the publishing page. I have an Instagram. You can follow it. I don't really use it since 2014. I've maybe used it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 times. But that's that. Get all that crap out of the way. And then just as a additional thing, if you're into gaming, I've been doing gaming stuff since 14 years ago, something like that. So there's all kind of stuff there at Crow Bennett, 2 N's, 2 T's. So where we are at, I'll just quickly go through some photos for fun. I want to address a question that I was replying to yesterday after the last stream, and I typed out a really nice, thoughtful response, and then my internet flickered, and my web browser cache got cleared, and I was like, I wanted to scream an obscenity, expletive, but I was like, Jesus. So I just wrote in the comment that was a lot more than what this says, that I reserved the comment. I had a long response and the internet went out, refreshed the page, cleared the page cache. Ouch. So, but I do always appreciate thoughtful responses and try to address them, because this is a really long response and make a lot of good points. So I'll take that on first as we go through these pictures that John Landry took, and just to be prudent here, I don't do Instagram, but he's John Landry Photography, at John Landry Photography. That should be it, John Landry Photography, and he's just got a really great. I gotta log in to see it. Are you kidding me? Yeah, sure. This is fun, right? Search John Landry photography. There he is, John Landry Photo. He changed it. All right, so this is a John Landry photo, and he's an amazing photographer. Just absolutely. He finds the moments. And the funny thing is, what makes him so special to me is that he doesn't take a lot of pictures. And he's always seems to be invisible when he's around, which is great because you get to capture moments when people aren't they don't know they're being photoed. I mean, they may know, like me and Travis knew there were photos being taken, but we didn't notice them. Um, he did some of the Afghan wigs a while back that got featured on there. Uh, on there it is on their website. So that's Rick right there. It's who me and Travis made the last record with. This is at the Mohawk in Austin, and John took these photos. This is one of their kind of farewell tours, small show, small venue, and it looks like he curated a lot of those pictures because there was a lot more. But he's really good at capturing the moment. So uh, if you like photography, give him a follow. Um, and so now we'll just kind of slideshow this as I respond to, can I do just like play a slideshow? That would be convenient. Open with, you know, what is there, a button? It's a slideshow. I'm not looking at the chat right now, so if y'all are giving me tips, I'm not seeing them. Okay, well, let's start here. So, Stop Propaganda 2573. Let's check the, yeah. Travis, I have that picture on my desktop for months now. It's a great photo. This is the photo he's referring to, and again, it's John Landry's work. So, I can close one of these. All right, and so the comment, it's 3 paragraphs, one long paragraph, one medium-sized paragraph, and one small paragraph. And this was not to my last video. This was from the one self-analysis back to the whole 11 days ago, where I said in the description, it's like being destroyed all over again, period, focusing on the music. If you like me and my brother's music, please go subscribe to support us, and I give the links. And I shake my virtual tip jar. So, Stop Propaganda 2573 says, and I'm going to try to read this with the intention that it was written with. I'm so disappointed that things turned out this way when you knew that you could solve issues by enforcing boundaries more clearly. Period. No dig at you at all, Marcus meant at all, with an exclamation point. I was born into a cult. Not the one you got stuck in, but I understand the techniques applied to keep you on a leash. Some folks just can't break that leash. For example, after I broke free 10 years ago, my best friend died about 5 years ago, and I was still labeled shunned by him, so no proper goodbye. This past November, my older brother, by 1 year, died from brain cancer. Again, no goodbye, and to top things off, my wife of 25 years, who was never involved in any of this shit, died this past January from a pulmonary infection made indestructible by COVID. She was my lifeline to anything comforting and beautiful. And when he said that, or they said that, I really felt that because I thought about Cynthia. I can relate. I feel similarly. Um, I've been in grief counseling since February, and it's slowly helping me get things off my chest. The sad thing I had to learn is sometimes situations are non repairable and will always be shitty till the end. I chose not to tell my story on the internet, but support those who do wholeheartedly. Thank you. Um, just as an aside, I kind of started documenting my experience of peeling the layers off the onion coming out of Scientology because there was so much else going on besides that, and as a result of that, that there was too much to keep up with, and I wanted to document and look back on this stuff later, and here I am doing it. So, next paragraph. I've listened to your music and take life one day at a time. Um, I hope that our music can sort of inspire that sort of thing. But you know, um, either way, if that's what they're feeling, that's great. I hope you continue the musical focus, and if things can heal, they will. And if not, let it go, as sad as that was for me to learn. Um, my life has been about as effed up as it can get, but I still hold on to hope. So, this person is probably upset. Well, I mean, not upset necessarily personally, but just sad to see, uh, the partnership that Doug and I had sort of just instantly get chopped uh, due to boundaries, which I mentioned in the very first paragraph. So, which I have some responses to. Um, just know that some people do not know what it's like to invest time into something that ends up shitting on itself. Okay. You'll do fine, Marcus, and that's all I got for you, other than I'll miss you getting interrupted by Doug. I'm upset too, because every time that would happen, I would just sit back and think, can I hold on to this thought long enough for it to be relevant by the time he finishes speaking? Or will he have covered what I was going to say? Will he have said it, how I would, different perspectives? So I'm going to miss that too. I miss that. And people give him a hard time for it, but like, he's so passionate. So, like, it's not even a thing for me. Like, I don't take offense to it. Um, Sometimes it takes a lot longer to get both perspectives out because of that, but the hell do I have going on? Um, so that's a cool observation. And he said, "Oh, and listen, you getting interrupted by Doug 10 times a minute, 10 times a minute. Wow. Okay. But still love Doug just as I love you. Thank you. Um, Remember, we're all writing a book without the foresight to see the next chapter. Yeah. Maybe the book's already written. Um, 6 one way, half dozen another. Be thankful you have the talent to dictate yours with music. Makes me jealous. Ellipses. Thumbs up. I love this comment, and I love these types of comments because they're real, they're raw. It's he did not, or they did not hesitate to let me know that they were disappointed in the situation. I should be moving the pictures here. you know, when I knew that I could solve issues by enforcing boundaries more clearly. So, and I totally uh, recognize that, and I was aware of that. There was a shoot this week. I didn't think it would be. It was kind of like just like we could make it that one more, but it was getting to a point anyway where taking a lot of calls all the time, and not I wouldn't say it's disrupting, but it was like I because I have a lot of compassion and I love Doug. Like anytime he call, I want to answer, but then there's sometimes I don't want to answer, and but if I don't answer and he keeps calling, then that's sort of like crossing boundary because there's an expectation, that you better pick up. And what if I'm watching a movie with Cynthia? What if I'm laying in bed trying to sleep or whatever? I got to take care of me too. Uh, and an important thing that I'm you know seeing is that it's it is crucial for everyone who does. This person spoke about not sharing their experiences on YouTube, and that supports those that do. Um, that's how I found support initially, was that there were people who had similar experiences but weren't sharing them, but appreciated someone else talking about theirs. And with that in mind, like everyone in the trauma community, whatever kind of trauma it is, they really do, including myself, deserve their own space, you know, uh, to express what they experienced. Um, and that's not to say that, like, sharing a space with someone, like what Doug and I did, where I went onto his channel and we did 17 broadcasts, wasn't a good thing. I still am proud of all of that. Um, and there's some, it was fun. Uh, but yeah, like everyone deserves their own space, including, it's me, Doug, whether it's Aaron, Mark or Claire Headley, anybody, Laura FM. There's so many now, actually. It's wonderful. Um, and yeah, um, conversations are great. Sharing experiences is great. Um, but just a thing, everyone should have their own space, their own dedicated space. Uh, you can call it a safe space if you want, I guess. But um, so about the first thing about being disappointed by not enforcing boundaries more clearly, I'm a human being. So there's that. Um, so I think that pretty much, other than a really hearty, grateful thank you to Stop Propaganda, this saves me from having to type it. Um, this is one of John's favorite shots, action shot. Travis playing. Okay, well, let's get into the video. Um, this is going to be somewhere in here. Let me switch back to the chat view. I see y'all been chatting. That's good. I'm not caught up. Oh, it opened twice.
That he experienced.
So, just for reference, real quick, where we left off, um, before, I'm gonna bring just the last bit of the last video up. so that we have reference. I'm going to put that picture up. That'll get the chat going for Travis. Let's see. I need to find the last one, and it is right here. So.
Pregnancy with my brother Travis.
So we need to go back to here. Yeah, that's the song.
Influence, connections, you know. It's been like this actually for years where, you know, when she moved back in later in the story, you know.
Well, I just want to catch a very end.
You'll see that she could just sort of like, as long as she was around, as long as she could keep an eye on her kids, I guess really is what it amounts to.
Please, baby.
That she could just sort of like, as long as she was around, as long as she could keep an eye on her kids, I guess really is what it amounts to. Then oh, Brenda's my friend's song. Not sure which one. I got a lot of friends. I got a lot of songs. But here's one that I could play. Chill. You know, he spent his time enriching his life and trying to enrich others' experience.
Okay. Well, I'm not getting jack squat off of that, so we'll just go. We'll just go. I'm assuming that it smells like weed in the hallway. Yeah, baby. Okay, let's do this shit. Oh man, I saw someone comment. Where was it? These are great comments. Wow. Okay. Good to see you work on yourself instead of giving up. It's easier to say than do. That's true. Edel 815. No. At the moment, no. So Witness, you like that photo? Yeah, me too. Travis hates it. Well, I think I missed. Okay, we're almost an hour in, so we're gonna start. This is the second video that I made after I got back from Jackson and learned some things from my other mother, Travis's mom, my mom. I'm blessed to have. I was blessed to have 3 mothers and 4 fathers. I've got 1 dad left and 2 moms left. All right, I'm gonna get the volume up just a little to make sure we can hear. And just make naturism at Clearwater Beach. I am on board. Just make sure that you're not on a board near Santa Cruz because there's a sea otter that keeps eating surfboards and taunting the surfers by stealing their surfboards and just laying on it and getting some sun. You don't want to get bit by a seal or whatever that thing is because they got nasty teeth and bad infection. Probably worse than a shark bite, honestly. Okay, we'll start here. That he experienced. So I'm going to skip ahead quite a bit because there's a lot of things that happened in between now and this point that I'm about to tell you. But one night my mom and Dwayne were having an argument and I gotta stop now. and just give the trigger warning ahead of time. I don't think I gave one in yet, but I did write it in the community tab. Uh, Multiple domestic violence, child abuse, harassment, aggravated assault type stuff will be talked about. And so if you're in a spot mentally or need to focus and this kind of stuff will distract you too much, then just watch it later. Um, Trigger warning. Oh, I almost pressed stop streaming. Let's not do that.
I just didn't want to be there. And Cowboy told me, if you ever feel like you need to get away, I don't care what the courts say, I'll come get you, just call me. So I snuck out the window and I called him. And he was there within 15 minutes, like a 30-minute drive. And when he came around the corner in his little white truck, I was sitting on the corner, and my mother, after they had, I guess, were done fighting, she was checking on me in my room. She saw that the window was open. She walked around the block and found me, and we were sitting on the corner together. And this would have been 1982, so it'd be like 11 maybe. 1992, sorry. And Dwayne, I mean, seeing Cowboy's truck late at night, creeping around the corner. He wanted to defend himself in case Cowboy was coming to kill him. And so he pulled around the side of the property where there was a fence and a lot of weeds and stuff. You couldn't really see over it. You could see the truck, but Dwayne was probably so inebriated that he didn't know where we were, me and my mother. And so he probably assumed that it was just Cowboy. And Dwayne had gotten his revolver and walked out the side of the house, screen door, and started unloading at the truck.
So I don't know if you were listening there. I was typing and listening, but so this is a domestic crime. Uh, Aggravated assault. My stepfather came to pick me up because mom and Dwayne were fighting about shit. He was kind of a pyromaniac. He'd get drunk and make big fires, and um, I think he had recently made a fire so big. He did not like vinyl siding, and vinyl siding was all the rage at the time. I know this is gonna sound silly, but it is kind of a funny story. Um, he built a fire next to him, and the neighbor had a conversation about uh, vinyl siding versus asbestos or some other kind of board, some new kind of board um, siding. And the guy was like, well, vinyl siding's the best that you can do. And Dwayne was like, I'm telling you that vinyl siding ain't worth a crap. It's going to fall off, break off, chip off, whatever. And then you're going to have exposed, frame stuff and your house. Um, and the neighbor went ahead and got the vinyl siding. Well, Dwayne got drunk one night and thought it'd be funny to build a fire next to the fence by the neighbor's house. Well, the wind picked up that night and started blowing towards the neighbor's house, and Dwayne made big fires. And so all this siding started dripping and melting and falling to the ground. And uh, Dwayne just, I think he went inside, and then the uh, fire department came and uh, and told him to get the fire under control because the neighbor would the neighbors, heard the fire roaring and heard it close to the house and went outside and saw that their vinyl siding was melting. I don't know why that's funny, but yeah. So I had called Ira to pick me up. I called Cowboy to pick me up because I didn't want to be at the. I didn't. I was tired of adults fighting all around me, like fighting all the time, and everyone fighting all the time. My mom and her mom, my mom and her stepdad, my mom's stepdad and her mom. Uh, there's very few people that I can remember that weren't fighting, and that it wasn't kind of related to this in some way, related to the fact that mom left Ira for Dwayne and was going to marry him. Uh, and it was a big, whatever, uh, call it social, family feud type. Everyone has their opinion and no one agrees, and people fighting. So, hey, Juliana. Um, Mock, I'm assuming you're referring to Cowboy? Is that who you're referring to? Um, okay. So I'll put the pin in that. When you get me a response, I will respond. Uh, uh, with the little hearts at the bottom, I can't read. Oh, there we go. But love to you, Marcus, always. Thank you, Juliana. Um, I mean, I think I'm live right now. You'd have to do the 2 times speed to catch up, but it's all good. You can always watch it later. That's why I love uh, the streaming capabilities now. So, okay, Mock, you are talking about Cowboy. How is he free to walk around? Because he got away with it all. That's how. Because he intimidated people so much and so effectively for so long and had influence to which he could use to put pressure on people uh, to keep them silent. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. He was connected with fraternities. He was a business owner. He worked at a very prominent cracking catalyst engineering oil production facility as an operator. He could operate all 3 units. Um, and he was a jeweler for many years before that. Uh, he has a lot of friends, I guess you'd say, acquaintances. There's a lot of people that know him. And then there's the part where when he married my mother, my mother's stepfather was a banker who was a loan officer. And he was also very connected. And on that side of the family, we have people in the sheriff's department, people in the uh, DA's office, people in the court system. Uh, Nothing like judges or anything that I know of, but clerks and paralegals and stuff like that. And we have that's a big part of the family. Like there's 6 kids. I think out of all of the, it seems like out of all of the, my mom's, uh, mother's my mom's mother's siblings, that she had the least amount of kids, is what it seems like, and they had six. So very large, Sicilian Catholic immigrants, is what they say. But if you go do the genealogy, it's a little different. But that's the reason that's a long-winded way of explaining how he's still able to walk around freely in the state that he's in. You know, he's got dementia and Alzheimer's, and I literally just got back from Lake Charles, where he just tore up my mother's porch and left the steps in a very dangerous position, the concrete steps. And my mother did fall and bust her knee open, and uh, I'm not going to talk about that right now because that's still ongoing, and it'll just make me mad. Um, but she can be a mod. I just haven't added. I haven't, Juliana. I'm like still dusting the cobwebs off of this channel and everything else in my life. Like, I really kind of am in a place for the moment where I can, start putting the pieces of my, broken mirror back together. It's a long process, and even though I could be going faster, like after years of just kind of, I don't know, if you've ever been like sleeping couch to couch, or even homeless sleeping in your car, or homeless sleeping in the street, which luckily I haven't had to do, but all the way probably up to that, uh, but I never had to sleep on the street, thankfully. The only time I slept on the street was when I woke up passed out from drinking all night in Lafayette, Louisiana, on the hot asphalt. That's the only time I slept in the street. So, okay, so there's about to be a domestic incident here that I'm going to talk about, involving a firearm and aggravated assault, child endangerment, and failure to report a felony, or failure to report a potential felony, failure to report a crime. Um, and the situation is that I called Ira to pick me up, and I did not tell my mother I was doing so because the fighting was pretty intense, and I just closed the door, I locked it, and I had all my stuff in the room, and I had opened the window, which was just perfect, at the same level that my bed was at, so I could easily open the window, jump out the window and grab my stuff and go walk to the corner or wherever I was getting picked up. Ira, Cowboy, had told me, wait at the corner by the fence, and so I called him. I went out there and started waiting.
Cowboy and myself were trying to get my mother in the truck, and she was being very stubborn and said, "No, it's fine. I'll be fine." But the fact was that there were firearms being discharged in our direction, and if she'd have popped over the corner, there's no way to know. He wouldn't have been so inebriated to just take a shot. He shot holes in the neighbor's house. There was a hole right between the neighbor's children's bedroom, right between the two kids' beds.
So what had happened was Dwayne was out I'm getting better at it. Dwayne was out tending the fire, and he saw Ira's truck he saw the cowboy coming around the corner, and he immediately assumed, rightfully so, and there was no reason for him to not think this, considering the experiences he had before. Ira had already assaulted him and made multiple threats, and had attempted to murder his child. So and did everything he could to uh, destroy his and my mother's relationship, um, and intervene with force if necessary. Um, and so he was, justifiably uh, within his, even being drunk, even being on medication, he was well within his uh, reasons to believe that there would be no good reason for him to be there that late, uh, to his knowledge, because I didn't tell them Ira was coming to get me. So I go out to the corner. Within about 10 minutes, Mom already, I guess she just heard how quiet, when you have kids, if it's too quiet, something's not right. So you got to check on them. And the door was locked, and she just, you know, she, I don't know if she got through the door or whatever, saw the window open, or if she just came outside. But she came outside and she walked to the road, and there was weeds and grass all on the fence, so she couldn't see me like just walking outside the house. She had to walk out to the road, and then she saw me sitting in the ditch, and she came and sat with me in the ditch. Didn't say much, and I said I called Cowboy to come get me, and she said, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Well, I'll wait here with you." Um, and you know, over the years, I get more and more detail and understanding from this scenario and this picture and this event that happened. Um, but and it's some of it I still don't understand, because I wasn't the parties. I wasn't my mother and I wasn't my father. Don't know what they were arguing about, um, specifically. And so Dwayne sees that Irish truck's coming down the road, and he goes inside the house and looks for my mom, because he wants to protect himself and my mother and me. Um, because Ira has threatened to kill him multiple times, and has told other people to tell him, "I'm going to kill you." So threats, threats, threats. And in this situation, I, as a father, wouldn't want to take any risks either. So he went and got his pistol, and was a revolver, actually, and he saw Ira pull around the other side of the fence, and I went to the truck and I opened the door. At this point, I see Dwayne coming out of the house with a gun, and heard a gunshot. Now, I, I was a kid, so I wasn't tall enough to see, but my mom said that the first shot he fired was up in the air, and and then he aimed, and took two more shots. Well, he could not see through all of the foliage and plants that grew on the fence, that there was a that me and my mom were there. He just saw the truck. So he fired at the truck, and yeah, I'm probably telling the story here as well. This is so weird to me. It's like, what am I looking at a picture of myself, what am I going to do a stream in another year of me doing a stream of me reviewing a video? Time paradox.
We went and filed a police report.
Okay, so yeah, went and filed a police report, and because, like I said, there were multiple crimes. One of them is not failure to uh, report a crime, and other was aggravated assault, child endangerment, and then of course your standard domestic abuse call, which had I called the police before, um, then they would have come and like if I was a kid calling the police and said my parents are fighting really bad, they probably would have sent somebody out. Um, no worries. Welcome, Lydia. Welcome back. So that you see the sort of escalation, like from domestic violence, uh, starting with just a fight, but there's other people involved around it, like perhaps children who may make their own decisions about what to do about the situation, who may not trust the authorities, who may not even know that they can call, stuff like that. It escalated into those four things: aggravated assault, failure to report a felony, and child endangerment. Got to do my little Vulcan salute here. There we go. All right.
And not long after, my mother filed for divorce and got separated from Dwayne. Well, of course, this was one of the things that was going to be used in the ongoing custody battle. And that's one of the reasons my mother didn't want to make a big deal out of it.
So this is obvious to me now, like how fucking distraught and troubled I am. There was some information I didn't know, and it's kind of like the Big Lebowski. There's new information, man. Like new information has brought things to light. It's so tropey, but at the same time, you can look. I am not in a good way with this news, with this new news, because it's putting a piece of a puzzle together that makes the whole picture look completely different and in a much more sinister, dark, like, oh my God, like the depths that people go to control other people. Hard to grapple with, especially if that person is your father, or the father that you thought was your father, who raised you, who is your father, but now you're like, is he my father? Did he treat me like a son? Um, yeah, a lot of stuff going on in that brain.
So again, I'll fast forward. And Dwayne, one weekend at a little festival we have here called Contraband Days, decided he wanted to go bungee jumping. Well, he had a big insurance claim against a carrier company. It was 18-wheeler that hit him. As I said, we were being followed, and PIs were everywhere all the time. And they snapped pictures of Dwayne jumping off of the bungee jump. Well, that quickly, and those pictures were sent to the insurance company that he was suing. And the whole pretense was, you know, if he's so hurt, how's he bungee jumping? Well, the fact is he was so inebriated, he probably was in a lot of pain the next day from bungee jumping. But he was the kind of guy that just he wanted to have fun, you know, even at his own expense, you know. And I gotta admit, that night when he did that, it was so funny.
Just something on that. It was really funny. He swallowed a goldfish just for another beer. And he wasn't like that night. He wasn't like super drunk. I'm talking about Dwayne here, my father, and he was also on painkillers. He had been hit by I'm not trying to make excuses because he was definitely addicted to the opiates and the benzos and all of that and drinking on top of it. He did not. I don't personally believe he really understood the damage he was doing as he was doing that, because that's partying like a rock star. And he justified it with, well, it was my doctor's prescription, so um, you know, I can't go against my doctor. Sort of blind trust for medical stuff. And he got to where he wasn't feeling as much in pain, and he wanted to go bungee jumping. It was something he always wanted to do. And my mother was just like, "Don't do it, don't do it." She said, "Cowboy's probably got people watching," and he's like, "You paranoid." He bungee jumped like 4 or 5 times that night. Spent 400 or 500 bucks doing all the different. They had 5 different harnesses, so they had a leg harness, a body harness, an arm harness, uh, all these different harnesses that you would get different experiences from bungee jumping. So he did all of those, however many there were. It's like I'd say $300 to $500 he spent on that. But Ira did have private investigators following us, as I mentioned in the previous thing, and not only private investigators, but personal friends and or people he was paying for, uh, uh, unofficial, unlicensed investigation, otherwise known as stalking. Um, and yeah, probably some sex workers too. But the uh, the wreck that Dwayne was in was sort of it was not a class action lawsuit. It was a lawsuit against not only Gulf states but the state of Louisiana. And because where he got in the wreck, there was an 18-wheeler on an old utility road, because my father was a senior electrician at Gulf States and was responsible for some stations in Allen Parish, Calcasieu Parish. I mean, they could call him anywhere, but like he was mainly working on the ones that were near where he lived. And there were roads that were, not fully clear cut like they are now. So you get to an intersection. I mean, there was only, sometimes you have to pull up just like at a stop sign to see if something was coming. And the speed limit was 30 miles an hour, but there was a truck driver going 60, carrying a full load, and hit him T-boned. So, there was a lawsuit because it happened on company property, and it was also the state's regulatory responsibility to enforce that, uh, which would have been an extra cost to Gulf states. There's multiple reasons why Gulf states went down and it became energy, but anyways, that was some of the beginning of their problems. Just a small little piece, but yeah, the insurance case, like the lawsuit, it was in the 90s, and it was I think $3 million was the claim at the minimum settlement, and it was up to up to maybe 10, 3 to 10 million. And so Ira was there. He had a PI with a really nice camera, and they snapped all those photos.
My mother was just face palming the whole time, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. It's so stupid." Because she knew the PIs were watching. I didn't like Dwayne at that time. And I didn't like him at all when he was alive. I think I've mentioned that. It just wasn't what I knew, you know. When you're a child, you develop emotional bonds with those who are caring for you, and you're also a child, and you're not aware of all the things that go on in an adult world. And I felt safe with Cowboy. So when the time came for me to give a statement of who I wanted to live with, I just wanted peace and quiet. I didn't want all the drama anymore. And I was guilty myself of listening to a lot of the things people said about my mother, and how she was the one that was kind of crazy and overreacting and all this. So I resented my mother for a long time. But in 1994, the case was, or the hearing was Cowboy got custody of his non-biological son.
So some recent stuff on that, clarifying information, filling in the brain fog, memory fog, missing pieces, jigsaw puzzle. That that event was pretty crucial, in addition to the bungee jumping, because what it was like you couldn't give another attorney more than, like, you couldn't give them anything better than to have all of these allegations that have like legal documentation, and still pending and haven't been to court for yet, and then insurance fraud. Like, okay, so the mother, like, in court, they don't want to get into a lot of personal stuff. It's just like, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? Okay, would you allege this? Okay, community property, whatever. How are we going to handle this? Um, and then, but when you get attorneys involved, they make special requests. And my mother's attorney, because Dwayne was not technically involved in this case, uh, but they would involve him when necessary to use him to discredit my mother, and also, while also discrediting my mother, to get custody of me returned to Ira, Cowboy. And I'm telling in this video that that's what I wanted. So, this was something that I wanted, is what I'm saying at that time, because familiarity, I had childhood bonds, whatever, didn't know what was really going on.
And I believe that he expected my mother to be so distraught over that she would just come back. Because he is in love with her. He's obsessed with her. And hell, even on their headstone that they've already got out of the graveyard, it says, in quotations, some say true love doesn't exist. I tell you, it isn't true. I've been in love 1,000 times, and every time with you. As I said, I'm not doing this to discredit this man. I only hope the best for him, and I want him to get help, you know, and make peace with some of the things he's done. He has told me, and is very remorseful and regretful, but at the same time, he doesn't feel he did anything wrong. He still contends that one of the biggest regrets he has is not murdering my father. Still.
Now that actually has changed. His biggest regret, as of the last time I spoke to him, because he called me, I told him don't call me, but I called him back to let him know, hey, you know, don't call me. Like, seriously. um, I mean, if it was something to do with mom or something like that, maybe, but or the kids, but I don't really have much to say. And then, you know, he asked, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. And he knows, but he changed his regret, his biggest regret. See, at that time, his biggest regret, and all the way up probably till 2021-ish, you know, he would still say, you know, my biggest regret's not killing that son of a bitch. And his regret this time was his only regret. And this is why it's exactly. He said, my only regret, my only real regret is making you hate your father. Okay, so that's changed.
And also that I should have never known my father. Still. And I just don't agree with that kind of philosophy of life. I have experienced the horrific ordeal of being separated from my children and being told that I can't see my children because I'm some sort of monster. And I don't agree with his viewpoint on that.
I don't know if y'all are familiar with the term grok, but it's like a, I don't know, I guess an IT term where they say like compute, how long it takes for something to compute something. They say it's grokking, like how long will it take to grok that? I'm watching this and I'm seeing like all kind of like grokking going on or trying to grok, and they call it grok I think because of the sound that the computer's making when it's like crunching numbers.
This past Easter, and 2 months prior, whenever I posted the GoFundMe, it was because I had missed a car payment that he had co-signed on, Cowboy co-signed on, and it was the first payment that I missed. There's a 10-day grace period. There's a couple times I had to come up with some money. And
I just want to point out that, you know, in like people who want to control people, uh, in debt starts incurring very, very early, like especially if it's like family domestic shit. Like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be financial debt, but you just have some sort of emotional debt, debts of gratitude. Um, but yeah, eventually it will become financial debt, and all of the debt combined you can never pay off. So, uh, oh, Grok came from stranger in a strange land. Robert Heinlein means total understanding. Fantastic. Thank you, poet. So that's why it's used in IT as a means to describe like 100% compute. Well, I don't know what I can give you, man.
get it in the bank account, but I'd been unemployed, and it was a real struggle to keep the, the bank account, you know, out of NSF fees and in the negative. So he immediately sold the vehicle, and that's whenever and at that time I had stopped. I sort of realized, you know, that for all of these years, I really believed that he was a great man for taking the responsibility of another man's child. And a lot of people would think that I lived a very privileged life, and in many ways, I guess so. But I gotta say that money is not love. And I'm sorry to cut the video there. My roommate was just checking on me. I really like my roommate. Don't remember where I was. Okay. He got custody of a non-biological child. It was actually a pretty big deal in the District 14 Calcasieu Parish. Cases referenced. But it wasn't, the result wasn't what he expected whenever he got custody. He expected, I believe, for my mother to come back. And this is a strength that I have learned from my mother, directly or indirectly, because she made the right choice for herself, and the best choice she could make for me. There is a lot of just abusive life. She had never had a job, you know. She was a stay-at-home mom, and there was a thumb, you know, on her head, or a foot. And she wasn't going to go back to that, no matter what. And I find that incredibly inspiring because, yeah, okay, you won. You got my child. Congratulations. I'm not coming back. And I remember Cowboy being pretty depressed for a while. Um, I was court ordered to go to therapy. I had to get checked out of school to do that.
Now, what the fuck is this? You know, these adults, these people who are supposed to, I mean, oh yeah, let's send the kid to therapy because he's the problem. You know, um, that's kind of how it was perceived because I was doing a lot of drugs by this point. I was already shit. I was 94 whenever Ira got custody, I believe. So, uh, yeah, good lord, I was drinking, smoking, taking LSD, eating mushrooms, and smoking weed. And that was the problem, right? That's the problem that's fucking the family up. It's so stupid.
So I was in therapy from age 8 all the way till high school, really. And in high school, um, right before high school, I got held back in 7th grade. Um, my therapist recommended that I just get the fuck away. So,
This is a high school counselor.
uh, Cowboy reluctantly and begrudgingly, because he hates therapists, hates them, uh, paid for me to go to a summer camp. Okay? There's one of my many privileges. Got to go to summer camp. Well, it was actually quite good for me. But
They sent my ass to fat camp.
whenever they came to get me, my mother was with Cowboy, and also my grandfather, who I was always very close with, and also his wife. She was not there, but in fact, she had died in a horrific car accident. 18 months.
So great question, Amy. I'm glad that you brought it up because I might have missed it. Um, yeah, the therapy was for to so Cowboy would go to the counseling place after being incredibly aggressive in court for 2 3 years and using court documents and paperwork to try to tell the therapist what needed to be done. Okay, you know, most people don't do that, but he got to be in control of everything. She wanted to do sessions with all three of us. We did one. Ira got up and walked out. Uh, she wanted to do one. She wanted to try doing one with me and him, and then with me and mom. The one with me and him, he just sat there stoically until the time was up, and uh, and me and the therapist, the counselor, uh, she's great. She recently retired, Candace Carr from Family Youth Counseling. Uh, Very accomplished lady now, done a lot of good, and but you can see the. I mean, you know, I can see just the like. It was time for her to retire. She just seen so much. Just like she's just numb. You know, she just wants to go and enjoy her her little spot out in the woods near the lake. Um, but yeah, the counseling was uh, was meant to correct my behavior, to correct my deviant behaviors. And this was not long after like satanic panic, and in that town I lived in, super uber uh I don't know. I want to say totalitarian, like RoboCop type shit. I mean, we had cops running over skaters and killing them. We had people running over skateboarders because they thought skaters were Satanists. And like that's that's how extreme that shit was. So, you know, being a cog in the wheel or a cog in the system, sometimes, you know, if you've got papers from judges, um, you might not want to rock the boat if you're just trying to establish yourself in a career. So there was a lot of therapy done about my behavior and, you know, uh, how wrong it was I was doing drugs, how wrong. Okay, well, you know what? I would straight up ask him, "Have you done this drug, this drug, this drug?" Well, no. Okay. Well then, you can't really speak from a place of experience. All you know about is some of the psychological effects, some of the because y'all don't even study this stuff. This was like, you know, again, 94, 95 or 93, 94. Um they just didn't even care to study it because they say, well, those it's uh orphan cases. Call them orphan cases. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that term, but like orphan diseases, orphan cases are like self-inflicted, and they're less common these days because people want to know more. We've run out of some of the things to study, so like, okay, now we can study orphan diseases. Um, but it's a orphan disease is something that's self-inflicted, and and so they would orphan it from research because it was not profitable. Um, and there was not a lot of focus on the environment other than what was dictated via the court. And so, what Candace did was she sent me to camp. Basically, we had sessions for a year, and nothing really, things weren't getting worse, things weren't improving. And she said, send him to camp. Maybe you and Alice can work something out. I don't know what was the deal, but
Miller hit her and she burned alive in a truck.
I just I don't know why I brought Wilma Faye up, but there's a picture of her up there. She's one of the people that really encouraged me and Travis to do music, and was my paternal grandfather girlfriend. But she was like a mama.
In Vidor, Texas. My grandfather never remarried. He was heartbroken. It was we became very close because his wife, Wilma Faye, always treated me so well. It encouraged me, told me how smart I was and how talented I was, to never give up on my dreams and things that no one ever told me. And I knew when my grandfather was there in the truck that there was something serious had changed, some big change had occurred. because my mother was there with Cowboy. And I was infuriated. I didn't speak much to either of them, my mother or Cowboy. I talked to my grandfather. And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is one of the reasons I love my grandfather, and I miss him very much. He's just so straight up. And I don't know, Bubba. It's fucked up. He was one of my very best friends. I still miss him very much. And from that point, I was about 13, going on 14. My mother had moved back in with Cowboy. And she told me, I'm here for you. I'm not here for him. Or she had been married again after Dwayne, and it didn't work out. He was an alcoholic as well. And
Yes, he was an alcoholic. He was a good man. He was a Green Beret and suffered horrible PTSD. Things that he had to do, things that he did in Vietnam, nobody should ever have to do. And he never got any help from the VA. He's another trauma casualty, trauma community type person. But my mother and him had a special connection at one point. Yes, he was an alcoholic. I just wanted to sort of clear that up. That like, I don't look at him as like some loser alcoholic. Had a failed relationship with my mother. It was quite sad, and I gained two brothers out of it. One of them, who I still admire very much. We didn't spend a lot of time together. It was stepbrother type thing. And then another brother who I never. He was older and he didn't live in Lake Charles, so never met him, I think, but one time.
she wasn't, it got to the point where she just had very little access to me. And as a parent, I can understand. But in a way, she went back into that abusive relationship. But she had drawn some very clear boundaries because she didn't cave whenever Cowboy got custody of me. She said, okay, you took, imagine this woman, like, she gave up a child to protect him from this man. And now this man has...
Earlier I said that my mother made the best choices she could for me, protect me. But she also had done that for Travis, because at that time it was you don't even take a risk with a child like that. You got a psychotic man who is threatening to murder a baby, who has been abusing his pregnant wife, sexually and physically, and at the same time. I mean, call it what you want. It's rape, Some of it was, my mother says some of it was consensual. I'm like, okay, fine, but like, you still, if there was even one time, right? I mean, am I wrong? I don't know.
Custody over her other child, and her and Dwayne both say we were late love children, Travis and I. You know, her and Dwayne had been romantically involved in one way or another since the '60s. And Dwayne actually went to Woodstock. He was kind of a hippie. And he would tell me, "You're a love child." So, I wasn't doing well in school. I would spend 4 hours a day playing my guitar, and I didn't care much about school. And I had experienced a lot of adult things, and when I went to school, it seemed like such a facade, and it was. You know, people were doing stuff that was just not interesting to me. If anything, I was interested in getting a job and getting out of that abusive house. And my brother Mark, during his divorce, had to move in. And now that I think about it, he was probably concerned about me too, because he knew I was doing drugs and stuff. In fact, he even found a bunch of paraphernalia in my room and brought me to jail one time, teaching me a hard lesson or whatever. He loves to tell that story. I brought my own brother to jail. It's a little shock value. We're like, damn, dude, you sent your own brother to jail for pot? Well, one morning I got up to go to school, and there were some kids on TV on the local news station that had built a Mardi Gras float from some club at Sulphur High where I went to school. Cowboy made a comment, some disparaging comment like, you know.
All right, so this is another part of the trigger thing. It's if you don't want to hear about a teenager being strangled, then this is the thing. But
If you weren't such a fucking loser, you know, you might do something productive with your life. And honestly, I was ready to be gone.
descriptions of aggravated assault.
I had tried running away several times. And I said something that I shouldn't have. I said, fuck you. And I meant it. Because at no point had he ever acknowledged, or really anybody, what kind of shit I'd gone through. And when I said that, he lunged across the couch. And we had this old 70s funky couch that when you sat in, you just sink in really far. And he put his knee on my chest and he started strangling me. And when I looked in his face, it was so much. His face was beet red, and his eyes were huge. And I passed out, and I came to, and he was strangling me. I passed out another time, and I woke up and I heard my mother scream.
So just to get some perspective here, this is the man, this is the guy, and I'm trying to make it a little funny to break it up so it's not so goddamn traumatic, but because this is kind of a funny face, but this guy on top of you with his big ham fist strangling me. All right, I knew I pulled that up for a reason.
Screaming. And still, I'm not able to
What's up,
breathe.
Chad?
It's choking the life out of me. And then my brother Mark, I see him running in the corner of my eye in his tidy whitey Hanes. And I've never seen anything like this in my life. I haven't still. Except for that day. He picked him up by his throat. He was laying on top of me and he picked him up by his throat and literally picked him up, and all in one motion within seconds he moved around the couch holding this.
Okay, this also gets into NDE stuff, but like, because I was depressed into the couch and I had passed out, I think, for the third time, and I know that my lungs quit working because whenever I got up from all this, it was very difficult to breathe because when your lungs are devoid of oxygen or they shut down, your brain tells them to shut down. You have to start it. It has to start back up again, and it's hard to describe how that feels because I'll do my best. Like whenever, uh, it's like in a dream when you are talking, but you're trying to talk and you can't, and you start trying to scream and no sound comes out. That's kind of how it was trying to get my lungs to breathe again when I got up. And when I did, it was you know, I assume now that from like when you see movies where someone's dead and they uh, wake up and they're like, and coughing and stuff. That seems like maybe some medical consultation on like, because that actually was a thing because it was very hard to get that first breath and it hurt so bad, and I just had to sort of will it to happen. But prior to that, so 'cause I'm describing a situation that I actually couldn't see. I'm describing my brother Mark coming through the living room, picking Ira up, and then charging across and to the side, with just his Mark and Ira are short, but Mark's a little shorter. So like, and he's thick and strong, and he can leverage his body weight really well. And he was working for the sheriff's department at the time. He practiced a lot of different martial arts. So like, how he managed to do that in an L shape, because that's what it was going around a couch. He picked him up by his throat and his stomach, or his maybe even his nuts, and lifted him up, ran with him, and then turned his body, and then with one full force motion slammed him, which was a distance of about 3 feet. So with that one full motion, 3 feet, throwing him up against the wall. How did I see that? You know, I was actually already, I was unconscious, and I was seeing this stuff. I was pushed down into the cushion of the couch, and that couch had a really thick baseboard, like a 6 inch 6 by. Uh, no, just a 6 by, right? And the cushions would go all the way to the bottom. So like my vision would have been just all I could see was this guy, this right part of the screen. Like that's my vision. And I saw, how did I see all of that happen? On top of being unconscious. So I look at this now and I'm describing it like I know that I saw that. I don't know that I saw that, and I don't know how I could have.
Dude, and slammed him up against the wall and held him by his throat, squeezing his larynx so hard that he couldn't get any air out. And he was very calm.
So during this all happened really quickly. Um, Mom was actually the reason Mark came in was because Mom was hitting him on the head with a frying pan, and was have to no effect. Like she was smashing him in the head with a frying pan. He's so enraged, and Mark gets up and then does his thing, and then so I'm like free to get up, but I'm not moving. Mom grabs me and gets me up, and tells me to stand up, and may or may not have been the best thing to do medically. I don't know. My mom's not a nurse, but she told me to stand up. I stood up, was lightheaded, and then the whole trying to get my lungs to breathe again because I was kind of panicking because I couldn't breathe. I'm like, I guess not being able to breathe and being strangulated for enough time for you to pass out 3 times and maybe die. Uh, the yeah, the body or something, uh, panic mode. It's like, okay, I can turn it back on. Okay, okay. You got to make sure. It's like it's almost like the body and the brain perform these checks to make sure before shit turns on and off, and who knows.
My brother Mark has a very eerie calmness when there's things like this going on. Like he
I just mocked about the height thing. With what I think I saw, the height was a bit of an advantage because it allowed Mark to get a little more leverage right under at a good angle on Ira's hips because Ira's a big guy too. He's not an easy guy to move around, um, and he's stubby. He's got big bones. He's wide. He's got really thick ham fists. A lot of he used to be a bodybuilder in the 50s, but and he kept a lot of that ligature. He developed his ligature and musculature enough early for a long period of time until he was in his 30s, uh, so that he's still got a lot of that mass. He built a lot of mass,
he scares people because
and that slight is, you're right, height is not an advantage, but in this case it kind of was, I think, because of just the right angle, just short enough, and have enough force with Mark's upper body strength and skill in the martial arts and getting him into a place to where he could properly thrust and push him that far back.
he's so calm in very chaotic situations. And he said, if you ever touch my brother again, I will kill you. Do you understand? And then
At this point, I've started breathing again. Maybe when Mark heard me, that's what, because at first it didn't seem like Mark was just trying to diffuse the situation, and then but maybe whenever he heard that, like, because he was an EMT, he worked at the sheriff's department, like he knows when people are, have been revived, and if he heard that, like as an EMT, it almost makes me think that that's why he got so violent so quickly once he got him up against the wall and said that he would kill him, because that me and my mother were both shocked to hear him say that.
I was catching my breath, like when you've been strangled. It takes a while to catch your breath. You're taking deep breaths, kind of thing. But I do remember Cowboy trying to push the air through his larynx to say, I understand, because Mark was not letting go until he got an answer. And the longer it took for him to get the answer, the more he was squeezing on his larynx. He finally was able to get it out. I understand. And then Mark just let him go, dropped him. Cowboy fell on his knees, catching his breath. And I was so angry, I caught my breath. I went to my room to get dressed for school, and I punched the wall. And there's still the hole in the wall where I punched.
I punched the wrong spot in the wall because there's plenum from the HVAC system where I punched. So I didn't punch a hole in it. It hurt my fist a lot. It was just an indention in that old school paneling, the wood paneling that everyone says if you don't know what this is, you weren't born in the 90s or whatever, generational meme thing. It was that kind of paneling.
And then I started talking to my high school counselor about getting emancipated. I told her about the shooting and the strangling. She was very willing to help me.
And there had also been a report from one of the teachers at the school, Miss Desermo, had reported to the counselor, and the counselor called CPS to do a wellness check because I'd come to school with bruises on my arms, and I was also a cutter back then. The cutting she never reported me for, but the bruises she reported. And as you all know, what do you say whenever the cops come and your abuser is right there and they ask you, is he abusing you? Or is she abusing you? Are they abusing you? No. You don't want that hell that's going to come after if you're dealing with a real psycho.
Get all the paperwork that I needed pre-filed so that the day that I turned 16, the paperwork would be approved. And I spent the rest of the time skipping school, doing drugs, and, you know, whatever I wanted to do. At that point, I felt like I had earned the right to be an adult. And I got emancipated, and I got a job, moved in with a friend who had dropped out as well. And one day at work, I got a visit from a sheriff, and since I was still technically a minor, even though I was emancipated, someone had called in a favor, I guess. They said that I was a danger to myself and others, and they arrested me at my job and brought me to
Pizza Hut. I was at Pizza Hut at the register checking a customer out, get a cop come in. It's not only a cop, it's somebody I know, family friend, Wayne Lowry. He's Glenn Lowry. And he's by himself. And he said, I got to take you in to the hospital. Your mama says you got to go to the hospital. For what? You're a danger to yourself and others. Come with me. No. Well, I will arrest you right here. I said, well, you're going to have to arrest me right here. It wasn't an arrest. He detained me at work and brought me to Memorial Hospital.
And I spent 3 days in observation, and they let me go. After that, I believe that was whenever I went to stay with my cousin Holly for a little while. and then I moved back in with my friend. I need to go back in my mind and relive that, sort of get it right, but it's general events that happen. So, why am I making this video? Well, in the book that I'm writing, it's called The Tao of the Father.
Yeah. Didn't have a whole lot of time to be doing that. There's probably still some documents somewhere of that, but I do have 8 pages of a book right now. But that's not to say that I'm gonna finish a dang thing. Writing books is go ask like Mark Headley, Claire Headley, Jesse Prince. Jesse Prince told me it was the hardest thing he had ever done in his entire life, and if you think about that, from what he did in Scientology, it's like Jesus. Okay, writing books is hard.
The Way of the Father. And my involvement in Scientology sort of has some connections to how I was,
Oh, and that's the end of that one. Okay. So, F11, close. So, there's Travis. He's healing right now. He had elbow surgery. He may have passed out after he took some medicine and get bored of hearing my voice. But he is healing from a elbow surgery right now. Let's find some tunes to go out on, I guess. Oh yeah, this is my page. I'm using the community tab now. I think that's pretty cool. I don't give much notice for going live. It's really whenever I have the time, because yesterday I was on a movie set and there's some other things that we're filming. And speaking of talking to my brother about what happened, there's some interviews we're planning. This company, Wildcard Productions, is helping us do a documentary about me and my brother, and Scientology, and just all of there's so many stories that that really, how do I say this? Stories are powerful and can help people. That's like that's what we're watching when we watch movies. We're watching stories. They move us. They inspire us. They remind us of things. They give us these little moments. It's kind of like music, you know. And the way that you tell the story it is there's an art form to it, and to get the story, like I've told these stories a million times. It's why people have asked me to write a book about not just my life but just the whole Scientology thing. Write a book, okay? I totally could write a whole book on it. It's just like, how do I want to go about presenting the information? And part of this is for me to go back and look at these videos that I really was using as a I had to self-document things that I was thinking of that I didn't have time to think of because there was so much going on. And so this process itself is part of figuring out how to present the story in a way that's tidy enough and comprehensive enough, and and can fill in the gaps without having to jump all throughout the story like I've always had to do, and have sort of a finale. Here it is. Here's the story. You can take it all in an hour and a half or 2 hours. But to get to that point, sort of, I've got to go through things. I've got to look at things. And that's part of what this whole self-analysis thing is about. So, let's find some la musique and play something before I hit the lights. Professor. I am not a professor, but I guess I am kind of professing. Lydia, I would like to do a book too because there's so much more you can say in a book. But I feel like if I can get it down to, like I said, a comprehensive, shorter form, hour and a half to 2 hours, then that would give me my own perspective. You know what I mean? It would give me my own perspective from which to maybe write the book. Some people do the book, then the movie. I don't know. Or documentary. And then some people, maybe me, have to do the other thing first. A lot of it comes through in the music, honestly. And what are we going to listen to? This is a cool one. I recorded the first version of this song in 2006, but this was the album. This was the album version of Band of Sinners song called "What I Meant to Say."
He's my miracle child.
He's my miracle child.
So how does your miracle child get cancer?
Oh, that's terrible. I feel like an ass. Okay. Band of Sinners. Good friend of me and Travis's since we were in school and we met. We played music together. It's called What I Meant to Say. Skeeter Lyons wrote the lyrics and music, and I made musical contributions to the arrangement and the sort of style and mixing and yeah, helped write the song.
It's beginning to make sense. All this senselessness. You broke your promises. All the nights I spent alone. Now begin this argument. It's just like always. Just like always. Wonder when you're coming home. Tonight, my dear. Well, let's forget everything we've ever done wrong. Oh, and by the way, what I meant to say, always goodbye. It's so long, I can't take your kind of love no more. Well, it's only circumstance.
That was What I Meant to Say by Band of Sinners. Wop, wop, wop. I played the bass on that. I remember that now. Um, and I don't know. I want to do something a little more upbeat to end it. This is Loaded 44s.
I have the
And,
ability to help people
Verbo,
escape
apparently.
reality.
Well,
At
she
least
has
for
the
the next.
ability to help people escape from reality. Do I agree? The ad is relevant to me. Escaping reality. Strongly agree. Sure, whatever.
I got a girl in Houston, got a girl in Austin, and they're pushing me to the point of exhaustion. I'm getting a little older, cannot lie to you. I tell you what, son, I can get used to. They're running me high, they're running me low. Sometimes I ain't sure which way to go. I move a little slower, you know that it's true. I tell you, brother, son, I can get used to. I ain't gonna sit here and tell you I don't think about it every now and then. Times I spent alone taught me many things about myself. Yes, it did. Times that I sit here and wonder what it would be like together again. Them days are gone, and I'm better off, my friend. Now I'm getting by. I want you to know the reason I try to go with the flow. Days ain't getting longer, but darling, don't be blue. I tell you what, it's something I can get used to.
God, I love the ending of that song. I love the ending of that song. I love the Loaded 44s. I love Coop, singer. Awesome dude. We'll save the lingus for the last one of the. I know these are long. Hey, I ain't got no time limit. It's all for. Years ago, I told when I was making these little documenting my experience. I'm like, one day I'll be able to provide some content for y'all. But that day is not now. Click. But this is it, and it's evolving. So, and I the word content, whatever. It's stories. It's experience. It's life. It's this whole thing. Don't get too deep, but the deepness is there. Staring into the void, and the void will stare back. I forget who quoted that. What the quote that was. I am gonna play my outro now because I need to eat. And there's Travis. He's healing. Pray for healing or whatever you do. Burn a candle, light some incense, look at a crystal. I don't know. Need all of the juju, all the traiteur magic. We gotta make a record. right. Love you guys. Take care.